Hello everybody and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Esam Mahmoud. I'm the Senior Vice President, Small and Medium Business at Etisalat. We thank you for joining our SMB Talks programs. For those who doesn't know about the SMB Talks program, it's a great platform that will enable us to stay connected and keep our dialogue with our market expertise. The current crisis or the current pandemics forced us to live in exceptional situations. Force us to live in exceptional times, and many businesses have been impacted with different level of impact. Not only that, it has also changed our social life. It has changed our social life with our families, with our friends, and also with our business colleagues. We do understand that the severity of the situations and its shared responsibilities for all of us on how to overcome the crisis. Most businesses are trying their best to navigate and pass the challenges they are facing. Throughout these platforms, we as Etisalat coming up with a program called the SMB series. And what we are aiming for is to be the partners and also with our clients, how we can recover and how we can work together for the successful of the business. The SMB Talks will enable us to have an open dialogue and share experiences across different sectors and also the verticals. Every aspect of the talk throughout the series will feature conversations with an expert from different industries verticals, in the hope that the business will find a value and gain knowledge on how successful go through the situations. To talk about this and more, please let me welcome our experts for this sessions. Mr. Neil is the chairman and the founder of the Virtuzone, a well-known entity in the market to provide a higher standard business setups guidance. So please welcome with me, Mr. Neil. Neil, how are you?
I am fantastic, Esam. Very, very good day to you. Good day to Etisalat and good day to your listeners.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for joining us today and being part of this SMB Talk series. I really appreciate your time. I know that you are so busy, especially with the current businesses and all these things, but I do appreciate the time you have taken with us. Neil, to start with this, we all know that the COVID-19 has impacted the business and has disrupted also the business. So many businesses, especially the SMBs, has been affected. So to talk about this, can you please elaborate or can you please share with us your expertise, how this crisis or how this pandemic has affected the Virtuzone as a company?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd say is that it's really forced us to use our brain. I mean, let's rewind 14 weeks. I remember senior heads of department were actually meeting at my villa. We're a small company, Esam, so we're actually able to get all our senior managers into one house to have a meeting, which was lucky. And we said, look, this thing is coming, this common enemy is coming. And we were very lucky. I'd say we acted quickly. We were concerned that we were acting too rigorously to start with, but time has shown that this thing is here, not just for a short while. I think in the first few weeks, quite a few leaders probably felt this will wash over after a couple of weeks. It hasn't, it's here. And as you mentioned, it's changed things, not just for a couple of months, but for the year ahead. So I think the main thing that I have learned is that we have to be agile, that we have to be light on our feet, that we have to accept that we're constantly analyzing data to try and do the right things for our company. And that data is changing every day. Don't be afraid, don't be ashamed to be wrong and to change the way that you're doing things. And the second thing, very, very important indeed, I remember we had a company meeting where everybody got together and I spoke to them about the challenges that we felt we were going to be faced with. It's you've got to take this opportunity. If ever there was a situation where your company was management and staff, now is not the time. We're all in this together, and that was the message that we were saying. So as a leader, whether it be as a leader of a tiny startup business, a medium-sized company, or indeed a leader of a country, you have to let people know what you're trying to do. You have to communicate, you have to share so that they understand what you're trying to do. And if they understand that, then I think they're going to be much more appreciative, they're going to buy into it, and they're going to be much more supportive.
Neil, good things that you have mentioned, that the COVID-19 has changed the way we run our business and changed the whole things of how we react or interact with our customers. And similar to any other businesses, I'm sure that the COVID-19 has given us a lot of lessons to be learned. And also we have implemented lots of initiatives during this pandemic. Can you please share with us your expertise? What are the lessons you have learned during this pandemic, and what are the initiatives you have guys has implemented within the virtual zones to overcome this the COVID-19?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I don't want to be cliched. I don't want to trot out all the old things that your viewers and listeners will have seen a million times. I think we're probably all fed up with 1,000 webinars about 4 big mistakes to make and so on and so on. But there are lessons to be learned here. There really are. And some cliches are cliches for a reason. So, we're all massively better practitioners of whether it be Zoom or Skype or whatever functionality that one is using. We're all as business owners realizing that, thank heavens in the UAE, it's an easy commute in the morning. If we were in Tokyo and our staff had a 2-hour commute in the morning and the evening, then the challenges would be even greater. So definitely, from our side, we're blessed by having great technology in our business, similar to Etisalat. So we have an incredibly bespoke Salesforce CRM system that has enabled us to do a huge amount of the processes and the workflow from home and do it very, very efficiently. Because I would say that one of the things that you really have to remember is that your customers are going through a nightmare. There is tension, there is stress, there is concern and a lack of knowledge of where people are going to be in a month's time. So they're really feeling it. And if we as a service business compound that by not giving them direct answers, by not letting them know exactly where they are, then we only ourselves to blame if their customer experience is not a great one. So from our side, it's been really to focus on delivering that service. Now, to deliver the service, you need good systems, but you also need motivated employees. Motivated employees, as I mentioned earlier, come from them knowing where they stand, them knowing what they've got to do. And so we set out right from the start to say to, we've got 110 staff at Virtuzone, and we were very honest with everyone. This is going to be a tough time, but we're in it together. So we started working initially on a 3-day week, and then obviously when the shutdown was further enforced, everyone was working from home. I think that initially when that started, there was a burst of adrenaline, and everyone was probably working much harder than they had done before. And let's face it, there's not a lot to do in your apartment then. But after the adrenaline wears out, then as a leader of a company, you have to start to think about how you can motivate people to the next stage. And of course, I think we're now at the stage where, look, I mean, from our side, I'm incredibly proud and I have to say a little bit gobsmacked to say that this month we're in with a chance of hitting our record ever number of company setups. Now, we launched in 2009 when the UAE was experiencing a crash the other time round. So we benefit from people leaving their corporate job but wanting to stay in this wonderful country. So we have a little bit of a resilience there. But also what I would be saying to your listeners is there is no better time to go and get market share. So what you've got to do is get your staff who are, whether they be working from home, and self-motivation is a challenge. So there's going to be an element of wearing the sweatpants at home and not putting the shirt and tie on and not getting driven so much. So as a leader, you need to inspire them. And that's the magic dust.
Neil, you have mentioned that people have started working from homes, and you have also mentioned that you started using Zoom and Teams. These tools was used also before the crisis, or it's only been used during the COVID-19?
Well, thanks to Etisalat, we're using them a lot more than we were able, and I'm very happy to say that our bandwidth is excellent here in Souk Al Baha, so thank you for that. No, we're definitely using it a lot more, and one of the things, I mean, we're a quasi-government entity, and by that, I mean, we provide a government service. We help people get company licenses, we help them get visas, and so on. And so we work both with the consumer and with the government. And the government, what a lot of our customers don't realize is that we work with immigration, we work with central bank. And of course, both of those entities are working incredibly hard to make sure that the right people are in Dubai. That's why we have such a wonderful, safe existence here. That's why we have this wonderful quality of life. So we want to make sure we've got the right people. That means understanding the source of income and so on when people set up companies. But one of the amazing opportunities that this situation has brought us is, if I give you an example, at the moment, if you want to set a bank account up, so you set up a company with Virtuzone, and then you trot off to the bank and you go and say, I'd like to open an account, please. And let's face it, there's no point in having a company license if you don't have a bank account. You'd have to go down there, you'd have to visit the guy, you'd have to show him your passport, and then he'd do a little bit of a KYC on you, and hopefully a short while later you would have your bank account up and running. Until you've got that, you can't transact. So as a business owner, that period, that bottleneck, if there is one, is a real challenge to what you're doing. Now, technology allows us to be talking to someone in their office in Hong Kong, scan their retina, do 14, in the case of a British passport, there are 14 security checks that can be done. You can go through software system, world check, etc., and know that that person is who they say they are. You can receive their DEWA bill, their utility bill, know exactly where they're located, and so on. So technology allows us to do that. And just as Esam, now we're looking at each other, and I know you're Esam because I'm seeing this handsome gentleman there. So you know it's me, so you can do this on the camera, and I'm really pleased to see that DED, that a number of the free zones we work with are allowing us to identify people by camera, are allowing us to use soft signature technology. And these are the things that I've been campaigning for us to use for a long time, because I'm telling you, Esam, and if you were traveling on Emirates back when we could, we were on ice and we were saying, we believe Dubai has the potential to be the startup capital of the world. It really is an amazing place to run your business. But we need to let people from all over the world set up without initially having to travel here. So that capability has always been there. Now we're using the technology to allow it. So I think that's an amazing opportunity for the UAE.
Totally agree. Neil, working from home is one of the changes which I believe most of the business has been implementing starting the COVID. And I'm sure that there are other many changes that have also been implemented during this crisis. So as a virtual zone, what other changes you have done within the company, and you think this will be a permanent, not only a temporary during the COVID-19?
Yeah, well, I think, as I mentioned, we have 110 staff. We have about 120 seats in the building. So a lot of business owners are going to be assessing whether they need that much space. They're going to be talking to their staff about perhaps one day a week working from home, that kind of thing. We all have a responsibility to our customers and to our employees to make sure that the working environment is safe. So we're back up and running. And I have to tell you, Esam, the buzz that we get, the ability to, there's nothing like looking someone in the eye. If you're a salesperson, it's much harder for someone to say no if you're face to face. If you're working with a colleague, to understand what they're saying, the emotion and so on, it's much easier face to face. But at the same time, there's no politicking when people work from home, so that's great. So it's trying to take the positives of both sides to it. I think that we're doing a really good job of that, and I think right across the UAE, and everything stems from how the leadership of the country acts. So I think we've all seen here, and I think that everyone in the UAE feels very lucky to be here in the UAE rather than in certain other countries where there's been more indecision. And so because we acted quickly and in a good way, ruthlessly, it's allowed businesses to come back now a lot faster than, I was talking to a colleague in the UK who is expecting his staff to be back in the office in September. Well, for a small business, where a couple of thousand dirhams makes a huge difference, that's a real challenge.
Have you guys implemented any changes within the company, and you think it's going to be very, very critical to recover from this change?
Yeah, I would say that from our side, as I said, we've really been pushing for market share very successfully. I think you have to accept you can't run things the same way that you used to. So from our perspective, I'll make no bones about it. We went for cash flow management, keep cash in the company. So that doesn't mean to run away and hide like an ostrich. It means communicate with your suppliers, and it means keep the money in the building. So we have been selling licenses very aggressively. The prices that you'd get at the moment, no one's ever going to be able to beat those prices. So for someone looking to set up or someone looking to perhaps renew for a couple of years, there's no better time. And from our perspective, we're providing good customer service, we know that they'll renew in year 2 and year 3. So we're not making a profit. We're deliberately bringing people in at a loss at the moment, and unashamedly so, because we're very proud that we keep our customers, as I'm sure Etisalat do, providing that we continue to offer them improvements in service for many years.
Neil, Virtuzone is well known in guiding the new startups to start their businesses and run their businesses. Do you think that during this crisis, there are a lot of changes has happened in these industries, or lots of opportunities has been created within these industries?
Yeah, Esam, I'm not going to paint this in a rose-tinted way. When the airports open up fully, there's going to be a challenge to business owners and a challenge to the country that we have never faced before. There will be people driving to the airport and going home to live with their parents, and that's going to happen all over the world. Now, what the country has a responsibility to do is to try and, as they have done, support those people and enable them to stay. So, you've seen whether it be mortgage holidays, whether it be credit card holidays, you've seen the government and central bank get behind people. But there's also an onus. John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And as a business owner of a company that has tens of thousands of startups under our umbrella, what we're trying to do is argue with the government jurisdictions who've supported us incredibly well in making people, for example, not have to renew their visas so quickly, on getting the price down of renewals and such like, so that we keep, because what happened in 2009 is there was an element of a brain drain where some brilliant people that had been in the UAE for a long time left because the times were difficult. We don't want that again. We want to keep people. Yeah. The second part is that there will be some people leaving. And what we need to do is we need to replace them, because we've got this amazing infrastructure here in the UAE that, no other country in the Middle East is anywhere near us in the provision. The working environment, the geographical proximity, the ability to use the amazing networks of the port and the airport and so on. All these fundamentals are still here, but prices are high, so that's coming down a little bit. So that's like nature adjusting itself. And we need to encourage people to come and to base their global business here in the UAE rather than in Europe or in Canada or in Australia. And I believe that the factors are absolutely there to do that. What we need to make sure is that the The bureaucracy, the red tape is removed using technology, which you touched on earlier. But not just technology, it needs a mind shift from people who've been doing the same things for many years to say, how can we structure this differently? So it's not about the machines operating us, it's about us operating the machines.
Neil, we have seen lots of changes from the business entities' behavior, also the support from the authorities to the businesses. So where do you see the most value is going to be? And as a Virtuzone, do you have a clear roadmap of how to reach to that value?
I think the value that we can provide, as I've already alluded to, is to disrupt. In some countries in the world, it costs £30 to set a company up. It's initially more expensive here, but once you have set up, it's much cheaper to run your company here. There is essentially zero to very low tax. So all the revenue that comes back in your company, you can invest in that company. That's fantastic. But I think that the value that we can provide is to continue to work on our ecosystem. The fact that Etisalat and Virtuzone are partners is an example of both our luck to be partnered with you, Etisalat and Virtuzone's belief that startups need a supportive ecosystem. They need help on, for example, doing their accounts, on building their website, on designing their logo. They need to be able to negotiate better with insurance companies for their insurance products, and so on and so on. So this ecosystem, and I think that these difficult times have, if I say forced or certainly taught us to work much better together. We launched standtogether.ae, which was all about that, which was a pro bono effort from us, telling small businesses or in allowing small businesses to work together to try and buy from one another and to help one another through these difficult times.
Neil, I have seen latest of your ad in Fujairah, thanking them for the time you guys have started there in Fujairah, and now you are also in Dubai and expanding in Dubai. So what are the top priorities that the people, Virtuzone is thinking of on the coming 12 to 18 months?
I'm glad you saw that, Esam. Thank you very much.
It's really touching.
Look, I've been in this country for 26 years, and I just every day feel lucky that the opportunities that it has presented myself. And during difficult times, it's easy to forget them. It's easy to be negative about wherever you are. But the number of people that I've seen leave the UAE and then come back a little bit with their tail between the legs a year later. So where I would apply this to your listeners is that it's, during these times, we as business owners do have to look to cut costs. We do have to look, unfortunately, sometimes to reduce our staffing and so on. But you've got to think, how am I going to be able to maintain my service? How am I going to be able to maintain the credibility that I have with my customers? A lot of that is being honest and transparent. And remember that we will bounce back, that things will bounce back. And when they do, customers do genuinely remember those that treated them well. So you have to, hammer that home into the ethos of your company.
So Nate, you talk about being agility and being agile. So do you see that being an agile or fast and speed on executions is going to be a competitive advantage? If yes, do you think that your business also is going to become more agile in the coming months?
I think without question, I'd like to think that we're a large, small company, but most of my customers are tiny companies with one or two people, and agility, the ability to move on your feet, is absolutely incredibly important. I think, Esam, we've seen lots of examples of companies flipping what they do, whether it be a Formula One manufacturer starting to help make the ventilators, or whether it be someone making screens so that in our offices we can sit relatively close to one another without endangering one another, you'll see a lot of disruption like that. And to business owners, I would say, do not, forgive the old analogy, but don't sit in the trenches waiting for something to happen. Make it happen yourself. Be the disruptor, not the disrupted.
So talking about the disruptions, okay, and we all know that most of the people now are moving towards the digitals. So where do you see the virtual zone standing in terms of the digitalization? And also, what is their plan? In which area they will be focusing more when it comes to
and again, very encouraged by, we're partners with Dubai FDI, we're partners with the Chamber of Commerce. I was recently invited to be on the Council for Startups, which the Ministry of Economy was sponsoring. And it was amazing to have the minister saying, guys, we need to listen from you. We need to listen to private industry so that we can understand how we can adapt to the COVID-19 era. And that desire to listen, that ability to accept critique right from the very top should be something that we follow in our companies. You've got to be prepared to hear tough news. And I think that exists in the UAE. And I think that what we're realizing is that you have to focus. So we need to, we can't stop investing in the growth of our company. But perhaps in the past, you would not look so carefully at every single fill that you're putting into something. So you have to prioritize. You probably have to, whereas before you might have invested in 10 things, maybe now you need to invest in 3, but do those really well. So focus is incredibly important. Listen, it always has, and that's another example of where actually a difficult situation forces us to adopt better practices. And you of course would hope that those better practices stay with you once the economy bounces back.
So where do you think the most investment will take place in terms of technology from the virtual zones?
I think that inevitably people are going to, you probably saw, Esam, that WhatsApp of those industries that are thriving at the moment. And I'm not suggesting that everyone moves into manufacturing bread making ovens, but, we do need to always be looking at trends in the market. And of course, technology that allows us to work from home, technology that allows us to practice social distancing. But from my side, what I'm saying to my heads of department is, guys, this decision lies with you and your staff. I can tell you come in or don't come in, but at the end of the day, you have to be comfortable with it. So what we need to do is create a situation where people can work from home. But let's face it, as humans, discipline is sometimes a challenge. Self-motivation is a challenge. So this is where the setting of KPIs, the ability for us to judge, for example, how many proposals are you getting out there? How many phone calls are you having with the decision makers of companies that you're seeking to sell to? These sort of things that we've always known are very, very important in judging how we're doing, but we have found it difficult to enforce on our workforce. So I think that don't try to be liked as the manager or owner of your company. Try to be respected, because your staff want to know that their job is safe in a year's time. And if they need to adapt their working practices to make that more likely to happen, then they will. There's never been a more receptive time where management and the workforce wish to work together. So take advantage of it and, talk to one another. Say, look, this is the challenge. My P&L shows that this company can be here, for example, for the next 3 months. Beyond that, I don't know. And there's no shame in saying that. Mm-hmm. So guys, what we do now, we're working 3 days a week from the office, for example, but we need to get back to 85% of the revenues that we were doing pre-COVID. And if we don't, then decisions are going to be taken out of my hand. So it's up to all of us. It's those kind of frank conversations which I think people will appreciate.
And Neil, as being a strategic partner with Etisalat, how can this technology provider support you on this? And which technology do you think you will be focusing more on?
Well, I think that we're blessed. Virtuzone customers, through our partnership with Etisalat, have access to much better packages than if they walked in as an individual off the street. Simply the price of their phone bill, the price of their internet package, all of those things are discounted. So these things are available, and I would say to business owners, maybe they weren't looking at them before and they were just going in and getting their credit card out. You've got to look at everything. So Etisalat prices are fantastic through the Virtuzone partnership, but also, it's things like, and again, automatic reactions that people have done for years. You set a company up, you open an office, you buy 10 laptops for your staff. You can finance that, so you can pay for your hardware over the course of the year through the Etisalat and Virtuzone partnership. So that's an amazing example of support that Etisalat are providing our customers through Virtuzone. And again, it's this sort of collaboration where we're able to help one another. Your ability to communicate to millions of people throughout the UAE is something that you have tried to help us with, so that we can get that message out to our customers. So collaboration is very important. And I think also, the ability to look in a fresh way at things and recognize that, for example, talking over the internet, as we're doing at the moment, has had a huge business advantage. And so what we want to do is make sure that in the UAE, our voices are clearer than they are in Singapore and Hong Kong and Malta and Cyprus, and it costs less for our voices to be heard. So, these are decisions that we all need to make collaboratively. And I think you've seen a series of great announcements from both the UAE and from Etisalat over the last couple of months, which show us that we're absolutely going in that direction.
Neil, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate all your insight and thoughts you have given us during the last half an hour. But I have one last question I need to ask. And this question is, we all know that in UAE, most of the business companies are startup. More than 96 or more than 86% of the total business customers in UAE are business startup or SMBs. So as an expertise, what advice you can give to those business customers? What insight you can give to those business customers?
You know what I'm going to say? I'm talking to our customers and listeners. Remember that this is Esam's sweet spot as well. He represents this sector for all of you. So we are your champions. So I'm not going to ask a question of you. I'm going to say, look, if you were in the oil industry, if you're in the real estate industry, if you're in the sugar industry, you have a powerful lobby group supporting you. If you're a startup, if you're an SMB, when you try and call that bank and you get through to a call center and you're left hanging for 10 minutes, it's frustrating. And you don't have so much resilience as a large company. So the UAE does know this, and it does seek to support us. And I think that you're going to see a series of measures that continue to support that. And I think that private companies such as my own need to help you as well. So put the pressure on us. Don't tell us what we want to hear. Tell us, what you really need. If you're really struggling to make a payment in a month's time, communicate it, be clear about it. Let us try and pass that along the line, and together let us seek to change things for the better. There's no better place than the UAE to start up a business, to keep your money safely and to reinvest. So we have to take advantage of that. And I think that in a year's time, based on the figures that I'm looking at the moment, as I say, it's a record month for us in terms of number of licenses. I think that's an amazing barometer of the possibilities, but it's not going to be an easy path. And if you just tell people what they want to hear, then changes don't happen so fast. We've seen that, we're all watching the news at the moment with what's happening in America, and and in the UK. And a lot of that is frustrating. It's like pulling a band-aid, but it is good for the long-term future of the country. So same thing for the startup community. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Etisalat for making this happen on behalf of certainly Virtuzone, but on behalf of the thousands of customers that use the support that you provide. And guys, they do have amazing assets, which sometimes we don't know about. So come and ask us about it and find out about it. Thank you, Esam.
Appreciate it, Bridget. Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all the insight and the fruitful information you have given to us, to our viewers. Appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Shukran jazilan, ma salama.
Afwan, ma salama. Take care.